Tautog are undeniably one of the most fun species of fish to catch. From gear to catching to cooking, in this video I'm going to give you all the ins and outs about how to catch tog from land. Let's get into it. To catch the fish, it's always important to learn about the fish first. The tautog, also known as the Tautog onitis, blackfish, or simply tog, is a bottom-dwelling species found in the Atlantic coast. They're in the wrasse family and known for their powerful jaws and love for rocky structures. These fish are built to crush shellfish, and their diet mostly consists of crabs, clams, and other crustaceans. Their human-like teeth, combined with the crushing molars in the back of their throat, help these fish effectively feed. Tautog have thick lips, sharp teeth, a slippery slime coating, and a dark camouflage which helps them hide in the rocks. Tautog can be found anywhere between 5 and 246 feet of water. Spawning occurs in late spring through summer, and the females lay up to 200,000 eggs. Togs start as bright green and then usually around maturity lose discoloration. These fish reach a maximum length of around 3 feet and 28 pounds, but the average fish is typically between 1 and 3 pounds. Tog can live up to 30 years, and they're very slow growing in nature, which means bigger fish are generally very old. They're incredibly strong for their size, which makes them one of the most fun fish to catch from shore. Now let's talk about where to find these fish. Tog love structure, whether it's jetties, reefs, or rocky outcroppings. They thrive around any sort of hard cover where they can hide. Jetties are perfect for tog fishing because they provide a natural habitat full of rocks, holes, and plenty of food. In New Jersey, we have a few major jetties and canals where tog are really abundant. Pick any one of these and you're bound to find some fish. So, when's the best time to catch tog? There's really no one-size-fits-all answer to this, unfortunately, but tog are generally a daytime species. They're hardly active at night. During the day, your best bet will be around high tide. Moving water before and after high tide is good, but even better is the slower, almost slack tide between. Tog don't have to fight the current as much to feed, so generally they'll be a little more active. Pretty lazy-sounding fish for the most part. Low tide will also produce fish as well, but fish whenever you can. Sometimes you can get in on a good bite at the most unsuspecting times. This is all you'll need to bring to the jetty to be prepared for this kind of fishing.
A bucket to keep your bait and all your gear in, a towel to wipe your hands or if dampened to hold the fish, a tape measure to ensure you're in compliance with the regulations for keepers, pliers for unhooking or cutting line, a stringer to keep your keepers on after catching, and scissors for cutting up bait. This last one is something I've neglected for too long, but it's absolutely crucial. Some kind of spiked cleat. These go onto my wading boots, but you can also get ones that go over any type of shoe. The jetty is incredibly slippery, and wet rocks like this, or rocks with vegetation, or even rocks with small puddles could cause a pretty bad fall without proper footwear. As for bait, tautog love crustaceans. The best baits are green crabs, Asian crabs, fiddler crabs, and sand fleas. You can also use clams, especially in the spring, or even shrimp. You can always get these baits from tackle shops, but you can also catch your own crabs by just flipping some rocks at low tide along the shoreline. You'll often find plenty of crabs hiding there.
Now let's get into the fishing with the two most popular ways to catch tog, jigs and rigs.
Tog rigs are pretty simple to tie. You'll need a heavy leader line, a bank sinker, and a 2-0 octopus circle hook. At the end of the leader, start by making a loop. Create an opening by twisting the loop over itself once. Then bring the loop through the opening and pull tight. This is where the sinker will go. About 8 to 12 inches above this loop, cross two portions of the line over each other to create a large loop. Where the two lines meet, twist the lines around each other while leaving an opening in the middle. Do this about 5 times. Then pull the large loop through the opening you've made. Hold the loop with your teeth and pull on both ends of the line to create a dropper loop. This is where the hook will go. To attach the sinker, push the bottom loop through the eye of the sinker. Then wrap it over the sinker and pull tight. The hook can be tricky to attach with its small eye, but I find that biting down on the line helps make it easier to push through. Push the line through the eye of the hook from the front. Wrap the loop around the hook and pull tight. You can add a swivel to the top of the line, but to reduce the amount of tackle, I tie a uni to uni knot to attach my rig to my braid.
So for rig fishing, you want something with a little more backbone that can handle heavier weights.
This is a Tsunami Airwave. It's an 8-footer and it can handle 5/8 to 3 ounces. It's also a medium heavy, so it can handle a little heavier weights. And then we've also paired this with a 5,000 size reel with 30-pound braid. So for rig fishing, this is an ample setup. If you want to go with a longer rod, you also can. You want to go with a heavier rod that can handle heavier weights, you also can. It's just mostly important to have something that can handle it. So I'm going to try to block these pretty heavy north winds right now, but we're out here at the jetty and we're going to start with some rigs and get on some tog. All right, so we're starting out with some of these green crabs. I'm going to take my scissors and just go in there, pick one up by the legs and grab it kind of on the lower part of it. And then immediately we're going to cut it in half. And then you're going to go ahead and clip the appendages off. You can save those for later. And now we've got ourselves a crab for bait. So to get this on the hook, you're going to go through one of the back leg sockets, and then you're going to string it out one of the other ones, and then you're ready to go. Usually I'll start my rig with a 2-ounce bank sinker and then figure out if I could go up from there or down from there based on the current. If the current's ripping, I'm going to go up. If the current's not that bad, I'm going to go down. So first, make sure your drag is tight. Then you're going to open your bail and just flip the rig right out in front of you. Let it sink, and then when it hits bottom, close the bail. And keep your rod parallel with the water. This is going to help you feel the bite better because your line is tight, and it's also going to give you leverage when you set the hook. So you're going to feel a lot of little taps. Those are usually fish swiping at the bait or fish that are, whoa. Oh man. That could be a keeper right away. All right, so our first fish of the day might be a keeper. So I'm going to show you how to measure up. Make sure its mouth is touching the front and the mouth is closed. And then you're going to stretch it across and pinch the tail at the end. So this is just short. This is about 14.5, if that. So this guy's going back. So as I was saying before that, that really nice fish interrupted. You're going to start feeling a lot of little taps right when you put that rig in the water. Those little taps are just the fish swiping at the bait or little fish, but the pulls are the bigger thuds. Those are going to be the fish that have the hook in their mouth. So that's when you're going to set the hook. Man, another good one. Whew. Another great fish. Holy smokes. That's like 15 right on the dot. Right there with a tail pinch. We're gonna throw him back. Once again, looking at another almost keeper. So I'm gonna put this one back. So don't let this fool you. Usually you're kind of picking through really small fish before you get to those big fish. Sometimes you just get lucky, and that's kind of what's happening now. But what's tricky with tog is it's only a 1 fish limit during this time of year at 15 inches. So, you know, if it's just 15, you can try to get one that's a little bigger so that it makes it more worthwhile to take home. So that's what we're gonna try to do. And the reason I'm going a little farther is because there's all this, I don't even really know what this is down here, seagrass, etc. And it's getting stuck on my line and it's pulling, so it's kind of making it hard to feel a bite. Another important part of rig fishing is keeping your rig perfectly still. Anytime you lift this thing up, pull it back in because you're bound to get snagged in the rocks. All right, first rig of the day gone. Just snapped off. I'm just going to interrupt this really quick to say it's crucial that you bring tons of sinkers, tons of hooks, and tons of bait with you. You're going to lose a lot of rigs to the rocks, and you're also going to get a lot of bait stolen by tog because they're great bait thieves. Another one of my favorite baits is the sand flea, and we're going to put this on the hook. You see this little flap right here? We're going to put the hook right underneath that and through the shell, and we're just going to put one on for now. So when you do catch the fish, you want to get that rod up high and start reeling quick so that they don't pull you into the rocks. Another good fish right there. So to hold them, you want to grab underneath them because these on top are really sharp and they can spike you. So just push the hook out. They do have tough mouths, so it's a little difficult. And then there you go, get them back in.
Since these fish are so crazy slippery, because they have such a good slime coat on them, it's good to bring a towel with you to dry your hands off from the slime in between. And sometimes if you wet this, you can hold them to make it a little easier to handle the fish. So if you miss a bite, you don't want to drop it back down, reel it back in. When you drop it back down, that's how you get stuck in the rocks. So you want to minimize the amount of times that you're moving your rig to minimize the amount of tackle that you lose. So reel it back up and then you can throw it back in. All right, another good one. All right, so once again, optimal way to start the day. Let's hope the big ones keep coming through. So if you're not feeling any more taps after a little bit, your bait's probably gone. Just reel it back in and rebait that thing. Whew. Wow. Now the risk you run with casting out a little farther is that the more angled your line is, the more likely you are to snag. So that's why keeping it straight is kind of the best method, but sometimes being in close isn't optimal. All right, so he took me in the rocks. Let's give it some slack, see if he comes out. I was not paying attention. That's on me. There he is. Oh man. All right, well, that's going in the blooper reel. If you want to stir up the bite a little, take some of your sand fleas and your old crab legs and just chum the water like that. That'll get the fish going. So to set that hook, we're going high and we're reeling as fast as we can on in. That way it gets them out of the rocks. There we go. Not a bad fish. So just some final reminders of the rig. You're going to open your bail and then you're going to drop the rig right out in front of you, not too far. Let it sink to the bottom. Close your bail. Keep your rod parallel with the water and tighten your line so that you can kind of keep contact with that rig. You're going to start to feel the taps, so wait through those. You're waiting for the pull or the big thud. Remember to keep the rig still, keep it as still as possible. The more still you have it, the less you're gonna get snagged. And then when you feel like you have something, lift your rod high and reel as fast as you can in. And that's all there is to rig fishing. Now we're gonna go over jigs. Got a few different jigs in here. I've got a 1 ounce, 3/4 ounce, and a 1/2 ounce. For the most part, this is all you'll need. Sometimes you can go up beyond a 1, you can go to a 2, but if you're getting in close and you're fishing tight to the rocks, you should be okay with this. For tog jigging, you're gonna wanna use light tackle, which I think is really fun. So here I've got a medium rated rod. It's rated from 1/4 to 1 ounce, but it's got a lot of nice backbone to pull those fish out of the rocks. Having lighter line is also gonna help you. So on this 3000 size reel, I've got 20-pound braid and it's going to a 20-pound leader line. So that'll help cut through the water. You're gonna take the hook and you're gonna string it through one of the leg sockets and then you're gonna put it out another. Same as the rigs, it's gonna be the same process of getting it out there. You're gonna open your bail, toss the jig right in front of you, let it sink to the bottom, and then once it's on the bottom, reel in the slack and let it sit, do not move it. Jigs have recently become my favorite method of catching tog, but I do feel like it has a little more of a learning curve that comes with it. And the learning curve comes in the way of when to set the hook. So the best way I can explain it is, again, you're wading through those small little taps for the fish to pick it up and run with it in its mouth. So it'll feel like a pull. And if you leave a little bit of slack in your line, you should be able to see it start moving in the water and straighten out. And that's a good indicator of when to set the hook. Oh, see, I just missed one right there. Again, like rigs, I'll load up a few sand fleas on here and that's good enough for bait too. There we go. That's our first fish on the jig today. All right,
It's a pretty good one. It's pretty much in that range we've been catching. There we go. This guy's definitely heavy though. It's a thick one. Oh. And there he goes, right into the drink. If you do happen to drop those fish between the rocks, it is okay. There is water down there. You actually can drop your rig or your jig down between the rocks and catch some fish. It's always an option. Oh, there we go. This guy was so tiny. How did he swim me down in the rocks? That's crazy. Sometimes you'll need to give your rod a couple twitches to make sure it's really at the bottom, let some line out, since those jigs are pretty light. Oh, ooh, pull and drag. Oh my goodness. Oh, I gotta get this rod up high. That's a pretty good tog right there. Let's go. Whoa, holy smokes. That's definitely a keeper. All right, that right there is a keeper tog. So this guy's coming home with us. All right, I'm throwing this last part of the crab out there and then we're gonna call it a day. And I will be back out here tomorrow. We're gonna bring this tog home and fillet it up. Another thing, if you see people leaving behind old line and stuff on the jetty, just pick it up, put it in your pocket. I've got these sand fleas left over from yesterday. They're mostly all kind of dead, not doing so great, so we're just gonna start chumming with it. And when I say leave some slack, you don't want it so that it's totally bowing in the wind, but you want to be able to feel that jig so that you can detect the bite and the pull, but give just enough of a bow to be able to see that movement. All right, so I haven't felt any bites in a little bit, so I'm gonna reel up, check my bait, and sure enough, it's gone. It's crazy how one day makes a difference in terms of the amount of wind and the amount of junk in the water. There we go. Like I said, get that rod up high and reel as fast as you can, get them out of the rocks. All right, not a bad fish right there to start the day. So to unhook, again, hold them from the bottom. They got those tough lips. Oop, and there he goes. So if you're sitting at home and trying to figure out what I mean by all the taps and the pulls and all this, and you want to try and feel it for yourself, if you've got a rod line around, go get it and take the tip of it and just tap it with one finger. If they're quick, that's what it'll feel like. It'll just feel like the rod is like shaking a little bit. And then to feel the pull, grab your line and then yank like that. That's kind of the best way I can describe the difference. Honestly, it just takes practice. It takes getting out there to really feel what I'm trying to say, but give that a shot and see what you think.
This could also be entirely anecdotal, but I do feel like I snag a little less with jigs. Reason being is because there's less terminal tackle on it, there's less sinkers and hooks, and sometimes you use swivels for it, but because there's less to go on it, I don't know, I just think it snags a little less, so take it for what it's worth.
So with the way the wind was blowing yesterday, and at the time of day where the current was really moving, I would say that was a better day for rigs. I was able to go a little heavier and keep that rig on the bottom. Oh, missed that guy. But today with the calmer wind and the fact that it's more of a slack tide, today is a better day for these jigs. I'm actually using a 1/2 ounce jig right now because it's holding pretty well. And I don't know if you can see, but there's a ton of bait fish going by right there. It looks like a little mullet to me. This fish is small, but it swam right down into the rocks for a second. Remember, this is what tog do best. They, the minute they feel something's up, they swim right down into their safe hiding spot, which is the rocks. And if they pull you under there, then your gear's stuck under there too. So that's why you gotta try to get them out as fast as possible. Oh man, this is a good fish. Oh, please stay on. Yeah, that's a good one. See, when this fish bit, it was all pull. That's kind of how you can tell that it's a good one. Oh, that was just a good fish, but I dropped him between the rocks when I was trying to show it to the camera. But I wouldn't say that was a keeper. That was definitely short of a keeper, but man, what a good fight. This feels like another pretty good one. Yeah, not bad. Another average sized tog right here. Let's get him back. So once you're done with all your bait, if you've got all these leftover like giant claws and legs and everything, throw that on a hook. You'll catch fish with it. I've actually caught keepers on the appendages of the leftover crabs. So, you know, stay out a little longer if you can. All right, to recap the jig, you're gonna open your bail, toss it out in front of you, let it sink all the way to the bottom. You can give your rod a couple shakes to make sure it's on the bottom. Then you're gonna tighten up all the slack until you feel that tension. Give your line a little bit of a bow. Don't jig it up and down, just let it sit. You're gonna start feeling the taps, the taps, and the taps, but you're waiting for that pull or that hard tug. Keep your rod parallel to the water. I'm already getting taps. And then when you feel like you have a fish on, set the hook hard, get that rod nice and high, and start reeling fast. And that's about all there is to it.
Filleting tog is pretty straightforward. Start by making a cut behind the gill plate. Then carefully work your knife down along the spine, feeling for the bones, and cut towards the tail. Once the side is free, run your knife down the side of the fish, freeing up the fillet cut by cut. Repeat on the other side. There's also meat in the cheek, so don't miss out on that. So a popular way of making tog is by making a chowder. Something I crave often that I had growing up was Bermuda fish chowder. My family and I love going to Bermuda. It's one of our favorite places. So I'm gonna be making a Bermuda style tog chowder. Let's get to it. First, we need to prep. Start by chopping up celery, an onion, a green pepper, carrots, which I grew this summer, garlic, and a potato. I cut the tog fillets up into small pieces as well. In a large pot, add 8 cups of water, a teaspoon of salt, pepper, bay leaves, some cloves, thyme, and half the fish. Let that come to a boil and then simmer for 30 minutes. In another pot, throw in some butter and add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Add the celery, onion, garlic, pepper, and carrots and let them cook for 10 minutes. Then add in about 14 ounces of tomato puree and a cup of chicken stock. Let this simmer for another 30 minutes. Next, transfer the contents of this pot into the larger pot with the water and the fish. Add the potatoes, 6 ounces of tomato paste, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1 teaspoon of lemon juice, a quarter cup of Bermuda's own Gosling's dark rum, and for some kick, I added a little bit of Hank's hot sauce. Let all the flavors combine by letting it simmer for 1 hour uncovered. Finally, add the remaining fish and let it cook for about 5 minutes. Add some parsley over the top and you are ready to serve. All right, I'm excited. It's time to give this fish chowder a try. Let's crack into it. They're pretty good. And I got a nice piece of tog there too in that bite. Everything just tastes good, everything's melted together. Hopefully you guys can give this recipe a try, and if you do, let me know. I'd love to hear how it turns out. I'm gonna keep eating this. If you made it this far, I really hope you learned a ton in this video, and I hope that now you have everything you need to get out there on the rocks and start catching tog. If you have any more questions, let me know down in the comments. I wanna thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.